Hello and welcome to my show, The Awakening, here on WGSN-DB, the Going Bold and Going Solo Network. The information and opinions expressed on this show are just that, the opinions of the individual speaking based on their individual personal experiences. They are not intended to diagnose and do not constitute professional advice or recommendations. So, you know the pain, the stress, and the struggle that divorcing men and women go through? Well, there is a way to find peace and your sanity and assist the lawyer in the legal process, saving you thousands of dollars. My name is Tina Huggins. I'm your divorce coach specialist, divorce planning specialist, restorative family mediator, and conflictual co-parenting coach. And I'm graced today with our guest speaker, Bill Scalzitti. And Bill has invested more than 25 years of research, interviewing, and facilitating singles groups, and has developed a system to help singles transform their thoughts about dating, love, and romance. His method focuses on self-analysis and self-discovery, using various tools such as feng shui, positive mental attitude, conscious language, and the science of deliberate creation. In Bill's role as the coach for romance, he helps singles find the romance they dream of through his coaching program and audiobook, Romance by Choice, a step-by-step guide to break old relationship patterns so you can create new, wonderful patterns. Welcome, Bill. I'm so glad that you can join me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So as I was putting this together, and we kind of talked about this just prior to coming on, I understand the consciousness. I understand how to, change your thoughts and all of that kind of stuff. But feng shui, now I personally know a little bit about feng shui. I've used it to go through my house to help bring in, the financial abundance, the abundance in the home, the love. And I know that the woman sleeps on the left side of the bed and the man sleeps on the right side of the bed. Make sure that you have space in your closet, blah, blah, blah. But how do you use feng shui as a tool in your work?
Well, you see, in every corner of every room, there is a relationship corner, a romance corner, you can call it. And that corner in most people's homes is usually full of clutter or full of things that shouldn't be there. And since the basis of my program is all about the mental attitude you bring to the dating world, feng shui is a very interesting part of it. Because when you learn to feng shui your home, your bedroom, the things you do, your office, you're inviting into your life a loving relationship. So that's where feng shui comes in.
And I know the corner, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but I know, as you said, clutter. I'm doing my best, I'm in a brand new home and stuff, and I have decluttered. I swear that I have taken out 2 kitchens worth of stuff and donated it because I just had way too much stuff. And that stuff becomes clutter as I look at the top of my desk with several books and papers. But let's talk for just a minute about that physical clutter. I mean, I have a concept of how clutter can keep from bringing things in, but can you explain it to our viewers?
Well, you see, it's like I'll tell people to put a picture of a man and a woman in their relationship corner, but not to put a picture of 3 people in their relationship corner. The colors to use in the room, the things to put in an area to help create the feelings, that bring the energy into your life. the way to decorate your bedrooms, the colors to paint it, the types of bedding to have, to change your bedding after you have had a breakup. You have a divorce, get rid of your bedding, get rid of your mattress, get rid of the whole thing, bring new life into the room. To hang purple ribbons on your doorknob to invite relationships into your room. These are things that, they sound a little funny, they sound hokey, and they may be to a lot of people. But I simply tell my clients, what do you got to lose? Try it. Okay?
So as you were telling the story, of course, I have a whole lot, you said a whole lot there. Marie Diamond talks in the book, The Secret, about that picture aspect where this guy comes to her, he's some kind of an actor, whatever. He says, I just want to have relationship after relationship after relationship. And she says, great, paint it. Because he was a painter and he had always painted a man here and a woman looking away from him. And she says, that's not the way that you do that. So she says, paint this relationship. So he did. And then 2 years later, she ran into him again. He says, oh, my love life has been great, but I'm ready to settle down. And she says, great, paint it. Just you and one woman. So that was kind of cool. And then my bedroom, I am most certain, is painted all the wrong colors because after my husband died, I wanted moody colors or witchy colors. So I've got a real light gray through my house, and my office, as you can see here, is got a medium gray. And then my bedroom is a dark gray with a charcoal gray wall. And that charcoal gray wall has got glitter, silver glitter in it. And then I've got a black drape that comes down over the top of my headboard. And up inside that black drape is a moon. And it's a moonlight. And I have a bunch of candles that are across the top of my bed.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. Very much so.
So in the course with you working with your clients, one of the things that I love most about you working in this field of relationships is that you're not young. That means that you have experience. And to me, that experience is some of the most important things because I've been working in this space long enough to know that when I have people come knocking on my door to try and help me with my marketing and they're in their 20s, they're not going to know anything about how to get my business off the ground. And I feel it's the same way in the relationship world. When you understand the world and all the work that you've done with the singles groups and the interviews. So can you kind of go into some of that for our viewers?
Sure. Well, see, I got married at a very young age. And when the marriage failed, I said to myself, how does something that starts out so joyously crash and burn in the rubble of heartbreak and disaster? I was living in New York City at the time. I had access to lots of single people, and it started really as a hobby. I just started talking to single people about their dating life. And the more and more people I spoke to, it started to become clear that single people had no clue what they're doing out there. And the reason is because we were never taught anything about relationships growing up. Everything that's in our head has been put there by friends, family, relatives, television, magazines, movies, the street, everything as we grow up. We were taught men do this, women do this, men are this, women are this, and all this stuff. And you hear all the news stories about, athletes and politicians and actors and actresses and all having affairs and cheating on their spouses and getting divorces and all this stuff. And we all believe, okay, well, that's just the way it is. So we become teenagers and we go out into the dating world and we start doing what we think we're supposed to do. And that is all the education we've ever gotten. So we're doing all these things and we're wondering why nothing is working. why everything blows up, why we're having arguments, why we always have fights with the people we date, why we don't get along. So when I started to realize this, I started to say, okay, we got to get people to start to think for themselves about what's going to make them happy. Sometimes people will say to me, if I say, what do you look for in a spouse or a partner? I want somebody warm, nice, and friendly. I said, if that's all you're looking for, get a dog, because they're warm, nice, and friendly. Or you hear the typical, I want a man who's rich, makes a lot of money, has a big job, educated, blah, blah, blah. I want a beautiful, sexy wife, woman, beautiful. I think to myself, all right, how many people find that and I wind up divorced? They're not happy. Why? Because they're living some other reality other than their own. The real question is, what's going to make you happy? Now, that sounds like a simple question. However, before you can answer that question, you have to know who you are. Most people don't. So therefore, every time they go on a date, there's somebody else. Then, more important than that, you have to love and respect yourself. And again, most people don't. Why don't they? A lot has to do with, and it's even getting worse by the day, with all this body shaming, with all this stuff about, if you don't look like the Hollywood image, there's something wrong with you. And people look at themselves and they say, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm this, I'm that. And they settle for anybody who'll pay attention to them because they don't think they're worthy of love. Every single person, no matter who you are, is worthy of love. But first, you got to love yourself. That is one of the things we work on so much with all the clients I work with.
Yeah.
Who you are and loving yourself. Then the next thing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The next thing is, how do you choose to live the rest of your life? Nobody else's, yours. And no matter whether you're 20 or 60, how do you choose it? Most people don't. They just go day to day and life just drags them along wherever they go. Or they meet someone who drags them to another state or different things. Or they themselves live in point X and they really want to live in point Y. And I said, well, why are you staying in X if you want to live in Y? Move to Y before you look for a relationship. Because if you find your relationship in X and they don't want to move to Y, guess what? You got a problem. Either you deny yourself where you want to go and live, or you break up and you hurt everybody. So knowing how you choose to live the rest of your life is very important. And then once you know who you are and you love yourself and you start thinking about what's going to make you happy, you're not trying to please your mother, your father, your friends, your relatives, because so many people do that, especially young people. And they're pushed into a lot of relationships by their parents, by their family. I said, no, you have to know I don't care if you want somebody who's 3'6" or 9 feet tall, whatever turns you on. And what you will and will not accept from not only the person you're with, but from their whole world. You might meet someone and really like them. And they might be a really nice person. But they may have a wild, crazy family that you can't tolerate being around. You can't stand going there, but they want to keep seeing their family. This is going to cause a strain. So why do you want to subject yourself to that? Or, maybe you're not a young person anymore. Maybe you're middle-aged and you've got children and you meet someone who has children. Well, you got 2 kids and they got 3 kids. Do you want the responsibility for 5 kids? Or you have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. Do you think that's a healthy family relationship? Maybe not, because they don't want to think I have to babysit those little kids. Or their exes. Maybe one of you has a crazy ex who's going to be real annoyance and create pressure. Do you want that in your relationship? So there's lots of things you have to give thought to as to what you will accept. And it doesn't have to be what your friends will accept. You know?
Yeah. So I, going back to the beginning of this when I was halfway interrupting, my apologies. I just wrote a post for tomorrow, and we're talking about self-love, because unless we do this work and we learn to love ourselves, we will attract the wrong people. And I know I came from a relationship. I got married real young, just like you did. And I got married for probably the wrong reasons. I did have love for him. I don't think I was ever in love with him, but I had love and still have love for him. But it became abusive, and the longer the relationship, the worse it got. I ended up with a broken hand, separated ribs, dislocated leg. And then, so I left him and didn't do my work, and ended up, the next relationship wasn't a bad relationship, but it definitely didn't work. We were two different spectrums. He was older, liked older music, didn't like to dance. Those types of things. But to me at that point, he was safe because he was in AA. And I had just come out of a situation with a man who was drinking more and more and more. And so it was a safe thing. But I learned and made, mental notes, but I still ended up in several more toxic relationships. And I needed to do the work. And finally, when I did the work, and I made my list. You were just talking about all the things, you don't want this, you don't want that. Well, I made this list, and some of the most important things at the top of this list was that he would support me in my work, not financially, but support what I did and be happy with who I was in my work and be excited for me when my work was exciting. And let me support him in his work and let me be excited with him in his work. And that part, the second part, was way more important to me actually than the first part, because I love to help people. And lo and behold, I finally found my Mr. Perfect for me. And we did live happily ever after. So for those of you who don't know, I lost my husband about a year ago. And that happily ever after, we had date nights every Friday night, and we lived and worked together in the same house 24/7. But yet we made ourselves go on date night every Friday night.
Yeah, very important.
So it is doable. And I truly think, I didn't have a relationship coach that helped me, but I did have a coach that I worked with on healing, making sure I learned to love myself. And although I didn't know I was using feng shui to help me with my relationship, I did, because you're right. I remember fixing that corner of my bedroom before I met my husband. And then after we got together, that part of the bedroom was just so important to have certain things. And I had kanji in that corner that said love and kindness. And of course, I had, the pillows. And then, of course, now we know that my husband has passed. But I often tell my clients the same type of thing that you did. Get rid of the mattress type of thing. I say, just get rid of everything that was related to that. In fact, maybe finding another house. And I talk about smudging the negative energy out of the house you're currently in until you can get into a different space, because it's so important. I agree with you on that.
Yep.
So what is one of the first things that you work with your clients on?
As I just said, loving yourself and respecting yourself and knowing who you are. That's where we start. Because everything else doesn't matter until they get conscious of that.
And so how do you go about that?
Well, I use different techniques, but a lot has to do with people looking themselves in the mirror and realizing who they are, loving themselves, looking at themselves every single day and saying, I love you, you're wonderful, you're great, you're terrific. It's all about building positive mental attitude. You know, that's why I use conscious language, science of deliberate creation, these other tools, because what you put out in the universe is what you get back. And, you know, I ask my clients to create their day every morning when they wake up, before you get out of bed. Create the beautiful, wonderful day with all the wonderful things that are going to happen during the day. You're going to have a great day at work. You're going to have, okay? All of this stuff. They have to work on maintaining positive attitude. That's where the music also comes in. I have a complete album of all songs that are all about pumping you up. And I ask them to please listen to it every day, multiple times during the day. Learn the words to all the songs so that you should sing them. Whether you can sing or not doesn't matter. I said, but think about this. I even give them homework. One of the homework assignments that I give them is to go to the local mall. Put your phone in your pocket. I want you dressed nicely. Put your phone in your pocket and walk through the mall smiling. And watch what happens. Watch how people look at you. Because if you're, a matter of fact, there is a song called Everybody Loves a Lover. Now, it's an old song from probably the 50s. But if you listen to that song, and I think it was by Patti Page or somebody like that, the beat to that song, and if you can sing that with the beat in your head, you're just walking around like this. You're bopping down. I said, when you do that, people are going to look at you. Because if you watch people in a mall, they don't look at anybody when they walk. Most times they're glued to their phone. Or they're just walking. I said, but when you walk like that, people want to know, why are you so happy? Because most people aren't happy. And I said, it sets you apart from the crowd. So I send my people out to I'll tell them to go have lunch by themselves in a diner or a restaurant on a Saturday or a Sunday. Just to see if anybody approaches you because you're sitting at a table by yourself. If you're looking happy and you're looking good, I tell them self-image is so important. You have to leave your house looking the best you can look. You never go out of the house unless you're properly coiffed, whatever that is for you. Because Mr. or Miss Right could be in that grocery store while you're running in to get a quart of milk. Or you're crossing the street and there's Mr. or Miss Right there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you have to be able to attract people to you. And when you're doing that and you're that happy, it's amazing. You're putting out in the universe exactly what you're looking for. You will find it. Now, it might not happen today. That's why we have the music, to keep you pumped up till you succeed. But you have to believe. What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. I learned that many, many years ago. I was very young when I learned that. And lots of those types of sayings and stuff are all like blessings given to us.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't want to believe that stuff. They think it's hooey. They think, oh, you're crazy. Hey, try it. What do you got to lose?
So one of the things that I have read not too long ago was, look, you're gonna live, hopefully, another 365 days. So you can just let those days happen, or you can focus the days on what you want to happen and create what you want during that day. And that really gives you an understanding of, oh, wow, yeah, they can just happen because you're going to wake up and you're going to go to sleep. Or you can get up and like you're talking about music. I almost always listen to music. And when I'm sitting here, I even have music in my ears. And it's one of the things that I dance around in my chair. And so the people that I get to talk with, they notice it when I go to the store. I'm told that I smile with my eyes, and everyone says they notice my eyes when I go anywhere. If somebody says, I think that you're pretty or whatever to me, I always ask, so what makes you feel that way? And they'll say my eyes. And so when we feel good, we do smile through our eyes. Our
Yeah.
shoulders are back, our heads
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if I could just say something, I mentioned conscious language. You said something just a moment ago about something you want. You use the word want twice in different sentences.
So you catch that.
Okay? Now, want is desire without having. Choose is the word to use in its place. If I choose to go out, if I choose to meet someone, if I choose to have the love of my life. Not that I want the love of my life, I choose to have. If you choose it, it can be yours. Want is desire without having.
So now I get to ask, where was the words want?
I can't remember the sentence. You were just
Okay.
talking. That's what you were
Now I
just talking
get to go
about
back
now.
and listen.
What?
Now I'll get to go back and listen because I am working with a coach that has been very particular about the words that I'm choosing. So now I'm going to have to go back and see where I said those
Right.
words. Catch it.
Right. Words like if, can't, and impossible should be erased from your vocabulary.
I agree with that. Unless we want it to not be there. So
We
that
choose it to not be
to
there.
not be there. So that is the whole thing with the conscious, what you think about, you bring about. And when people think that that's hooey and woo-woo kind of stuff, I always say stop. Look at your life right now. Point some of the negative things that are in there. What were you thinking about when you chose that? What were you thinking about when you ended up with this? And like I have a girlfriend she just had 3 cars in 1 week get wrecked. She wasn't driving any of them. One was her car, one was her boyfriend's car, and one was her son's car. And so I told her, I said, in mind body medicine or in spiritual work, a wrecked car is literally stop, stop. You can't go forward anymore. You have to stop right here. What is going on in your life that needs to stop going on? She was able to point out all kinds of things.
Very good.
So yeah, can come to points where everything, we move too fast. That's one of the things I notice in my days is I get to move in too fast. This day has been very, very fast for me. I've had meeting and then another meeting. And those are great days for me, but during that fast pace, I'm not making my connection with spirit. I'm not listening to the guides like I should be. And so that's where we tell people, so stop, take a breath, feel the breath come in and then feel it go out. Be silent for just a minute. What do you hear? And so many people go, oh my gosh, they might say, I hear the birds. They might say, I hear the wind or I hear cars. Some people say, I hear loving sounds, loving voices telling me they love me.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. So in your work, Bill, what is your favorite part?
I mean, I love all of it, but I love the part when people realize that love is possible for them, that they can have the love they've always desired. It's there. All they have to do is continually believe and do the work and not settle. You know, we sometimes are just settling machines. We get tired. We just want to settle. Let's get it over with. Let's do it right now. Over, done, fine. And then they're unhappy. And then they got to do it all over again. It's a journey, but it's a journey that you have to do with loving yourself and knowing it's your journey that you're on and that you will have the success that you choose. And you know, I've been doing this for over 18 years. And you know, I've heard all kinds of stories. I've seen all kinds of things happen. I could spend hours just telling about the stories that I've experienced. I mean, I've had people where I've turned them down. I won't work with them because they need real super heavy duty professional help. They're either so anxious, so in such a hurry. I always tell people, stop being an accident looking for a place to happen. You know, it's, you know, sometimes with some women I get in their late 30s, their biological clock is ticking and that's making them crazy. And I tell them to please slow down. It isn't going to help you to rush into something and be miserable just because you want to have a baby. You can freeze your eggs, you can do things. You know, there are ways of helping women these days, more so than ever before. You know, so that these are things. And then, you know, also I run into things now, which is the world is changing. The singles world is changing a lot. You know, it isn't like it was 30, 40 years ago. Today, women are so empowered. They're so wonderful. They're achieving so much. But they're emasculating men. And they don't necessarily realize it. But a lot of women that, you know, in the singles world are making more money than the men they date. And that's tough for men. Because if we know anything about men, we all have a hero complex. And but we don't feel that hero complex with the woman we're with. It creates a lot of problems. And that's one of the reasons I believe where you have so much abuse.
Well, and there,
you know, it's that, you know, unfortunately, you know, if you go back in time, I always say this, we men are still cavemen. We have not really changed much since the caveman days. Our roles as the caveman was to protect and provide. And that's what men did for most of the existence. But now women don't need men to protect them and they don't need men to provide for them. Men are looking for a role.
I think, you know, you hit that. I hear lots of men, even young men, that say, you know, I held the door open for a gal the other day and they got mad because I held the door open. And I don't personally know women that get upset for those kinds of things because I hold doors open for women with children and older people or people on crutches and stuff, just because it's a respectful thing, right? And to me, I worked my whole life. I've been in the man's world. I was born on a ranch and And then, I was a firefighter. Of course, I was an EMT. I worked in law enforcement. And so I always had these male areas. And I even would teach martial arts, and I would tell the people, you want to be the females. You want to be that strong female that you can take care of yourself, but you also want to be the woman that can accept the help and the woman that can be kind and gentle, because that, and I'm living proof of this, that does more self-defense good than knowing how to kick somebody's butt. They would send me back into the jail because I was the only female officer, and I would calm down the inmates because my energy was more gentle and I wasn't a threat to them.
Right. Yeah, well, see, that's the whole thing, but it's getting women to understand that they still are women. It doesn't matter. You could be CEO of the biggest corporation in the world. That's your day job. But in a relationship, there's a man and a woman. Men have to be masculine. Women have to be feminine. They have to love each other. They have to appreciate each other. They have to respect each other, because romance is one of the 4 pillars of a successful relationship, along with truth, trust, and communication. Without those 4 things, and romance is the big pillar. In most relationships, romance dies.
And the longer the relationship, the more dead it becomes.
Well, sometimes and sometimes not. Sometimes not. I mean, I
If it
love
starts
when I
to
talk to
die, that
someone
just
who
seems
tells
to
me,
be the direction it goes.
well, because we do things, we're both guilty. The man and the woman are guilty. We let ourselves go. We don't dress nicely for our partner any longer. We get up and we're in our pajamas all day, and we're just schlepping around the house, and we don't even take the time to say, let's go have a romantic dinner. You don't have to even go out of the house. You could set a nice little table with a candle and have a romantic dinner, put a little music on. Get away, but put your phones away. Stop all this. You got to turn the world off so you can turn each other on.
Right. Because I'm a romance person, and I've done body work, and so I've learned what we call a free flow hand motion. And so one of the things is, you're talking about, candlelight dinner. I think that dessert can be on the bed with glasses of champagne and strawberries, and you feed them to each other. So I've always thought, romance is important. And a lot of times the guy struggles with that. They love it once it's there, but they struggle understanding it. So I always felt that I wanted that for my man. So I created it. If they struggled with it, we just worked through it.
Yeah. But these are the things that, a lot of relationships start out really nice, and then they peter out. And they peter out because we lose romance.
Or fun. Fun.
Yeah, well, fun, romance. Fun. Yeah, going out date night is so important. To go out just the 2 people together. Get a babysitter. Get your in-laws. Get somebody to watch the kids. Go out, have a nice dinner. Dress up, though. See, you just can't walk out the door looking whatever.
Right.
Get dressed up. The way you looked before you were married, before you were dating, you always looked wonderful. Then you get, work gets in the way, kids get in the way, bills get in the way, problems get in the way. In some relationships, even health becomes an issue. It shouldn't. But there's always the stories about one person gets sick and the other one leaves. And they think, I don't want that problem. So if you really love someone, you love them through everything.
Everything. And so, Bill, we're starting to come to the end. And so I want you to talk just briefly about your book so that our viewers know about it.
Well, Romance by Choice is an audiobook. It's available through my website, romancebychoice.com. And it's an audiobook that has 6 musical albums that go along with it, and a workbook. And it's a complete program that takes from start to finish on how to work on yourself first, and then how to work on relationships, how to find them. I teach people how to use online dating, because online dating can be a wonderful tool if you know how to
Yeah.
use it. But too many people don't know how to use it. That's why you hear all the horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
I teach people how to date. I teach them the differences between men and women so they can communicate more effectively. Right? That is a big thing. We are 2 different creatures. Our brains are different and they function differently. We need to understand each other so we can have a better relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what's in the book called Romance by Choice.
Awesome. Awesome. So you told us how to get the book. So tell people how to get a hold of you.
Again, go to romancebychoice.com. All my information is in there. All the contact information that you'll need is there to find me.
So good. So I am a certified divorce coach. That means that I've been trained in the complexities of divorce. I've also been through a difficult marriage, and my father was almost murdered in his relationship. And then my late husband went through torture in his. So not only do I know textbook what divorce is, I know from experience what abuse and going through the divorce process is. You can reach me on my email at coachtinalynn@gmail.com. That's Coach COACH Tina TILYNN @gmail.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook at Tina Lynn Huggins. That's HUGGINS. On LinkedIn under Tina Huggins, Instagram under Divorce Coach Tina Lynn, and TikTok under Divorce Tina. So one of the things that I think is important is right here, Bill, if you can give some words of advice to our viewers.
Well, one of the best quotes I think has served me and my clients for many years is, today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you have the right to choose how that day is going to be.
And I think that's great advice, because what we think about, we bring about. We said that earlier. And so the one thing I can tell our viewers, especially when it comes to romance by choice, is that the last 2 words, by choice, is what Bill has been talking about here. And I can tell you that what Bill has to offer you and what you will learn by working with him is going to get you where you want to go. And that is if you do the work. I know this because I did the work, and I had the most wonderful husband on the face of the planet for me. We were perfect for each other. Not only did we finish each other's sentences, we loved the same food. We liked to eat at the same times. We both came from a farm ranch background. We were just perfect for each other. And we loved to work out. So we did, I mean, we were together 24/7 and still did date night every Friday night. So reach out to Bill and step into making the choice for yourself, for the romance, but make the choice for yourself, because loving yourself is the best gift you can ever give yourself. And so as we close, I want to remind people that as we go through divorce, we a lot of times get in a bad headspace, and we end up with suicidal ideation or thoughts, and maybe we even plan out this. I know I did. I made that attempt. So when you are in that space, please reach out to somebody, and you can reach the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. It's the same number in Canada. And in the Netherlands, you can call 113 This way you can spend that moment, those moments with somebody on the phone, just helping you talk through this. And then if you are in a situation that you need the police, if there's violence going on right now, here in the US, call 911. And in the Netherlands, it's 999. And in the UK, it's 112. Once you get the police there, please press charges. This is your key out of that relationship. It's a point where you get to stand your ground and make the choice for your freedom so that you can move forward to make a choice for yourself in the romance ahead. Press the charges, don't drop the charges. Oftentimes we drop the charges and the abuse that happened before the charges were placed is way worse after you drop the charges. This is your key out. Take it. If you or somebody you know is dealing with domestic violence, please call the domestic violence hotline at 800-799-7233. That number again is 800-799-7233. I also ask that you please like, comment, and share this information so it can help others. Thank you so much, Bill, for being a guest with me today.
You're welcome, Tina. Thank you so much for having me.
And we ask all of you viewers to stay safe. Thank you.